With a strong purpose, thoughts turn into actions that can transform lives. A quote by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, known as the Missile Man of India. He was a scientific genius who led India's missile program. Loved as both a scientist and a president, he continues to inspire generations with his vision and dedication to progress. Hello, my name is Malati, and I'm your host on the show titled The Impressive Empress, where we celebrate and amplify the voices of women, bringing insightful conversations, stories, and inspiration to empower more women and girls to embrace their power, purpose, and potential in all aspects of life. Today, we have an incredibly inspiring guest who is shaping the landscape of leadership, empowerment, and women's participation in the workforce. Our guest today is Madhura DasGupta Sinha, the dynamic founder and CEO of Aspire for Her. This is a unique startup and is dedicated to motivating women to enter and stay in the workforce, unleashing their potential and contributing to $1 trillion boost in the Indian economy. With a robust career spanning 25 years in banking, including leadership roles at IDFC, Standard Chartered, and ANZ Grindlays Bank, Madhura brings a wealth of experience and insight. She holds an MBA from XLRI and a degree in electrical engineering from the Jadavpur University, and she was one of the 12 women in India to be awarded the prestigious British Chevening Scholarship in 2003. Since its inception on Women's Day in 2020, Aspire for Her has rapidly grown into a global movement. With a vibrant community of members, supporters, and mentors, this initiative is making headlines and earning accolades from UN Women, T-Hub, NDTV, the International Advertising Association, and many more. Aspire for Her is also proudly part of the first ever cohort of women founders launched by Google India. Today, I'll be discussing with Madhura about the power of purpose, transforming mindsets, secrets behind building trust within a community while maintaining work-life balance. Whether you're looking to enhance your leadership skills, gain inspiration for your entrepreneurial journey, or understand the dynamics of community building, this episode is packed with valuable insights from Madhura. This is the Impressive Empress podcast, and here is Madhura DasGupta Sinha. A very good evening, Madhura. I'm really very excited. I can't put it in words. I'm so happy to have you here on our podcast, where we talk to women leaders from various walks of life, trying to understand their inside story or their inner journey to success. The journey to becoming, from being a normal woman to being the power woman who impacts the society in a very positive way. And thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Marty, for having me. But I'm just a normal woman, not a power woman by any stretch of imagination.
We'll find out. Yeah. Okay. So, Madhura, can you talk to me about your growing up years? How was it? And are there some lessons that you picked up along the way?
Well, I grew up in a slightly different kind of a household across Kolkata and a couple of really small places, as well as a bit of my life was in Africa. My father is actually the strongest feminist I know. My mother is very accomplished. My mother in a top tier class in economics, and she's a great sports person. She's a fantastic singer. So she does a whole lot of stuff. And my father actually insisted that my mother pursue a career. And that's how was my very early memories of my mom is to actually go out and write examinations. And then she comes back and then she says, you know what, I've cracked this examination. And she actually gets into the West Bengal Civil Services. So she actually got a great rank in the West Bengal Civil Services. And that's when she started her journey in the commercial taxes department department of the West Bengal Civil Services. So all our lives, we've actually seen a working mother and a father who is really, really pushing her to do her best to move out of her comfort zone. So for us, it was very natural that we would actually look at careers with a very different lens and not look at women's careers as something that was a second choice or that was an afterthought in any way. So that's how I grew up, and both my parents are I think incredible sources of support in my life, as well as I was very blessed to actually also get married to somebody who is a fantastic source of support.
Yes, I think the family really matters. If they are able to provide the solid support, I think women are able to achieve a lot more, I would say. And it's very interesting that the seeds for women empowerment, or to see empowered women, were kind of sown in your head for a very, very long time. But
Yes.
when did the seed for Aspire for Her get sown in your head or your heart, and how did it sprout?
No, great question, Mati. Actually, there were three things that happened, on a single day in my life. And I had a fairly comfortable career, and I did my electrical engineering, moved on to do my MBA, like most others of the generation, and then moved into banking. And I was looking at retail banking. I had leadership positions. I moved into HR, building a new bank. Um, and I think all of these parts of my life were fairly interesting, fairly enriching, and I was very comfortable. It was at that point in time that I started thinking that I got a little tired of being a small decimal point in the global balance sheet, and I wanted to do something a little more. I wasn't sure what. And there's one day when three things happened, right? So there was this friend of mine, and let's call her Priya. And Priya comes to me in the morning and says that she's really, really deeply disappointed with herself. And I told her why, and she said, my father has been diagnosed with cancer, and I want to financially contribute to his treatment, and I can't. And I said, why? And she said, I don't have any money that I can call my own. While I get along perfectly well with my husband, I just don't want to ask him for money. And I felt terrible because Priya is a topper. Priya is extremely bright, gave up her career to bring up her daughter, who is also very talented. And she's my age. And on the same day, there was another friend of a friend of my daughter's who comes forward and says, I've just rendered in my resignation today. And I said, why? And she said, I'm getting into an arranged marriage, and the boy's family has said that they do not allow women to work. And I was aghast because I said, she's going to become my friend Priya in 20 years' time. And who was going to tell her that? And that's exactly how the first seeds of Aspire for Her were sown. And I said, I have to do something. And I started looking a little deeper into the problem. And I realized that the percentage of women in the workforce has been declining for the past 15 plus years in our country, almost 20 years. That's been the broad trend. In terms of women's economic participation, India is not doing well at all. India is pretty much at the bottom in terms of the global gender gap index. And I was seeing the best and the brightest women me all around me. And I said, what is happening to the country? Why are these women not contributing to the economy of our country? And soon enough, I figured out that this is actually $1 trillion potential for our country. This is not our data. It's actually McKinsey Global Institute's data. This is a huge potential waiting to be unleashed if just more women get to work. So when I saw all of this, and I was telling my mother that I am so disappointed. The country's lawmakers should do something. The policy folks should do something. The government should do something. The corporate world should do something. And she turned around and said, "What are you doing about it?" And I said, okay, I think I should also do something. And that's how Aspire for Her was born.
Lovely. I mean, it's in the everyday things that a lot of beautiful things are born in the world. In this day of WhatsApp and AI and ML, I think we are forgetting to have genuine conversations. But here it is, one small sentence from your mother, casual conversation has led into you starting Aspire for Her and aiming to touch 1 million lives by 2025. How was it?
Yeah, absolutely. But all of these were conversations, not just with my mother, but with also my friend and my daughter's friends. So these are all conversations. You're absolutely right that conversations sometimes spark off change in minds.
Yes. What were some of the minds? I mean, I do know that you started this with your mother on one side and the daughter on the other side. Must be wonderful working with them as partners. How is this experience?
Terrible, actually. So, no. So both of them have very high expectations of me, and it's very difficult to actually be the bridge between both of them. But that was on a lighter note. But actually, when I started Aspire for Her, I realized that this was 8th of March 2020. So we didn't know at that time, but the world was completely going to change for all of us, right? So within the next few days, we suddenly saw that the entire world went through a lockdown. And the folks in my daughter's community, the young women who were actually getting ready for college or were just in college, they were in a very, very traumatic phase of their lives, right? They didn't know whether the exams would happen or whether they would get cancelled. They didn't know whether the campuses would welcome them. They didn't know whether ever life would get back into normal. And they were in this huge, they were feeling this huge sense of loss, deprivation. They were feeling this huge sense of uncertainty in their lives. So I actually talked to a lot of them at that time because I wanted to sow the seeds of financial independence very early on. And we had thought that 18 to 25 is really the right age. So that's how we started the conversations. And I realized that a lot of them were going through this sense of deep, I would say unease and deep discomfort with everything that was happening around them, and a lot of pain. So when I told them that this is what I'm trying to do, surprisingly, I found that almost all of them said, "We want to work with you on this journey, and let us come and walk with you." And I was amazed, and I said, "This is amazing. This is the younger generation who are often seen to be perceived to be very self-centered. They were actually wanting to do something which made leaders out of all of them." And I welcomed all of them, of course, because at that time we were just sort of trying to build the concept. We were trying to build Aspire for Her as a community. And they were the first people who actually started working with me to build this community. So this was a group of 18, 19, 20-year-olds, and they actually transformed their pain into purpose. So that's how it happened. That's how it started.
So Napoleon actually said that the role of a leader is to paint a positive picture and then give hope and belief. You have started off to build a great community of 1 million women, and that's not an ordinary task. And you wanted to do that in 5 years from when you started. That was in 2020. So it's about in 2025 is the mark that you have set for yourself. But that's not my question. But building a community requires one to first build confidence in yourself that you can do it. And then you support, and then you earn the support all throughout. How easy was this? I mean, you just said that all these 18 plus girls actually jumped in to help. But building a community, is that easy? How easy was it? And tell me the positive picture, the exact positive picture that you painted for them. And how did you get people to believe in you? I would like you to actually,
Great question.
walk us through it.
Yeah, great question. So, as I said, we started with this group of young girls who converted their pain and uncertainty into some kind of purpose because they felt that they were doing something bigger than just themselves and just their own careers. And very soon, I realized that this was not enough. Just talking to 18 to 25-year-olds, it's clearly not enough. Because as we started talking, and at that time it was only on social media because there was no other way to do that. We couldn't reach out to anybody physically. We couldn't meet in person. We couldn't have any meetings which were, in any kind of nice, fun locations. So we realized that everything that we had to do had to be online. And we had to look at the power of social media. We had to look at unleashing the power of virtual communities. When I look back, it actually seems quite easy. It doesn't seem very difficult because I think if there is purity of intent and there is strength of purpose, then lots of people actually want to be a part of a journey like that. And I'll give you another example of a different segment of women. These were women who were senior women leaders. And at that point in time, even they were going through a very, very tough time during COVID. All of them wanted to give back in some way. And to their horror, they were discovering that as more men than women lost their lives, these women were left absolutely devastated emotionally and financially. So they all wanted to give back in some way or the other. They wanted to mentor. They wanted to do something meaningful to change so many trajectories that they came across. They didn't have a platform or a structure to do it. So to them, AFH was a platform, a structure through which they could actually channelize their paying it forward journeys as well. And everything else was in between, right? I spoke about the young folks who actually used Aspire for Her to convert their pain into purpose. And the senior women leaders, on the other hand, were wanting to give back and were finding a space for them, a safe space for them to actually do so without getting judged in any way. And everything else was in between. So we realized that we can't just speak to 18 to 25-year-olds. We actually need to go down demographically, and we also need to go up. So we soon realized that we had to actually build a community in a way that resonated with multiple folks. And therefore, while the model of the community or the framework of the community was similar, but it could not be identical for all these different segments that we were talking to. And that's why we came up with a model, we came up with an equation, and we said, okay, this is how we're going to build communities. And there is an interesting equation which we've come up with, and this is stolen from a much more famous equation. And we'll tell you a little bit about that if you want.
I mean, the power of purpose and the power of pure intent, we all know how it can transform. Indira Nooyi had done that once in Pepsi, and we all know the results. But when you started, I'm sure you must have had a lot of challenges. The most important being your innermost fear of failure, fear of losing. I've read somewhere that entrepreneurs are the first people who lose all their good friends, sometimes even family. And there are umpteen stories that go on to prove that. What were your fears and how did you crush them and move on your path of growth?
Well, I think my biggest fear was how I would acclimatize to a life of an entrepreneur after spending 25 years in a bank and having all the resources at one's disposal. So somebody would help me with my calendar. There would be a large team which would help me with my presentations, with my decks and everything. And suddenly here I was all alone and there was nobody else. So on a lighter note, yes, that was a bit of getting used to. But I soon realized that it's actually much better to function this way because I use technology a lot and I try to ensure that nobody else. And now I would find it absolutely impossible to trust anybody else with my own calendar. I think I've become pretty good at it. So that's one fear. And that was sort of gnawing at me internally. I think the second piece was around the whole concept, because in our country is known to be a very patriarchal country. The mindset is sometimes very difficult to work through. And what we're really trying to change here is the mindset. So That was one of the fears that I had. That mindset is something that can't be seen, can't be smelled, can't be felt. How will I ever change it? And I think that's how that's where the power of the equation came in. And when we started talking to people about the equation, I realized that it's not just the mentors and the members and the young women, but the corporate world was welcoming it. The institutional world was welcoming it. The colleges loved it. And I realized that it spoke to each of them somewhere in their own language. So I think that was, a moment of revelation for me to see this is how I think and the science behind it, the sort of the elements behind it, I think, and we have a 5-point mindset change model. It's called E cubed is equal to MC cubed. And E cubed stands for where we want every woman in India to be, either in employment, in entrepreneurship, or in education, which leads to one of these two. And MCCNC are the 4 critical success factors that we feel are required to change mindsets and build community. M is for mentors and role models. The first C is for courses, cohorts, and learning. And this is where we skill, reskill, and upskill women for the jobs of tomorrow's India. The third pillar is career previews. And this stems from a strong belief if she can see it, she can be it. And this goes back to right what you said about role models and the lack thereof. And the last pillar is the community. And this is where our power and energy lies because the community connects with each other, elevates each other, motivates each other, and also solves problems creatively and collectively. And that's what really the magic has been for us. So it's been really easy for us to welcome more people and to get people to own this concept. And what we notice is that once people are part of Aspire for Her, they go out and they start becoming mini AFHs themselves. And they become leaders in their own communities. They start paying it forward. And that becomes an extremely powerful algorithm for us to grow, to snowball, and to create the movement that we want to create.
Lovely. I really understand and appreciate that equation now even more. Coming from Einstein, and that's a great steal there, if I may say that.
It is. We stole it shamelessly.
But for the greater good. So, could you quickly say what that stands for once again? E square is equal to MC square. Did I get it right?
E cubed is equal to
E cubed.
E cubed is equal to MC cubed.
Mm-hmm.
So E cubed is where we want all women in India to be, either in employment, in entrepreneurship, or in education, which leads to one of these two. And MCCNC are the 4 critical success factors that are needed to change mindsets and build communities.
Lovely. So the mindset is what is very important. Are you a very intuitive person? Do you take decisions based on your intuition?
Not really. Actually, I'm quite data driven.
Okay.
But I do, of course, like everybody else, there are emotional points in my decision making. For example, that conversation that I had, which actually pushed me to start something like Aspire for Her. It came much more from a space of emotion, but then I backed it up with data. So I feel better about the decision.
Where do your ideas come from? It's not easy to come up with this success equation.
No, actually, my idea comes from the community. So ever since we started Aspire for Her, and then PQ is equal to MCQ isn't something that we came up on day one. We knew what the community pattern would be, what the structure should be. But to put it into a voice like this, to put it into a space like this is something that we did a little later. And actually, the community and the conversations and the connections that I make every day, I think that makes my life very, very interesting. And, I always try to ensure that I spend a part of my day, speaking to community members who I do not know too well. And that actually is the source of inspiration, motivation, and also new ideas for me.
Great. You seem to be doing a lot of work and so many projects and talking to so many people constantly, not just in India, but also globally. I see that you're present in 60 plus countries. How do you convince that you're trustworthy to your stakeholders all over the place? And how do you take decisions and how do you prioritize your work?
A great question again. One is we don't operate in 60 plus countries, but we do have members across 60 plus countries. And we've not invited them to come. We have not even sort of introduced them to Aspire for Her. They have come completely organically on their own because they've resonated with our cause and they felt they wanted to be part of it. When we do a lot of work, not enough, I would say, because to change the trajectory of the country's economic equation in terms of diversity, I think requires a lot more work and a lot more effort. And we have not even scratched the surface of the problem. Let me be very frank. That's the way I evaluate it. But what we see often is that whether it's a corporate, whether it's a college, whether it's an individual, whether it's a supporter, a male ally who actually wants to work with us, we often find that they reach out to us and they say that we want to be part of something like this. We want to be part of this movement. And how can we help? How can we be part of something like this? And that's a very powerful way for us to also look at increasing our community size and to spread the word, because we realize that there's a pull which has come from their inner soul, and they have found us, discovered us, and they have felt that they need to do something bigger. They need to do something different in their own lives, whether it's an individual or it's a corporate entity. And I think that's the way that we do most of our work. And in many cases, there are many organizations that just want to do tick box sort of exercises, which are based on their DEI mandates, which are based on their ESG mandates. And we respectfully decline to do work like that.
Wonderful. I mean, the kind of ripple effect that Aspire for Her has created, not just in India, but across all the continents, is an amazing. It's so amazing to hear that. What are the challenges that you faced in communicating with people from a different country or a foreign national?
So, as I said, that we operate primarily in India. We do have members from different parts of the globe, of course. But I think one of the biggest challenges that we faced is really to change mindsets around. We're also very clear that we do not want to change anyone's mindset. If there's an inner urge and if there's a feeling that the organization or the entity actually wants to do something, they come up to us and we're very happy to support them when we realize that there is a genuine need, there's a genuine urge from within that's coming from them. However, especially when we look at organizations, we often find that the leadership or the DEI team is very, very progressive and they genuinely want to do something and they want to work with us to change the culture. They want to work with us to change the diversity equation of the organization. However, the practitioners or the operating managers on the ground are often not as convinced or not as invested in this journey. And they're often doing it because somebody else has told them to do something. And that becomes a genuine challenge for us because somebody may want to attract and recruit diverse talent at the leadership level, but at the operating level, if there's a huge barrier in their mind to say, oh, this will not work. And there's a perception or a mindset that's actually there. It often becomes extremely difficult for us to work through that and to actually build through that. In most cases, though, we don't find that, but in some cases we do, and that becomes a genuine issue for us to manage. It's essentially going back to that same change of mindset. We don't believe in changing mindsets or force fitting or forcing, compelling folks to actually change their perceptions. So we want them to feel uh, the urge within, and we want them to feel the need for change within, and then come to us with a problem statement, and we'll have to help them out at that point in time. But it's just that the entire organization at times, and this holds for organizations, institutions, colleges, everything, they don't often, um, they're not often a homogeneous group of people. They're very, very heterogeneous. And that's how sometimes we have challenges working our way through the heterogeneity.
Understandable. Coming to the woman part of the leadership, um, the success and likability are always negatively correlated for women. Women who are regarded as successful are viewed as unlikable. How do you think that we can change these mindsets, and what has been the way that you have approached this problem, especially when you're dealing with women in the C-suite and successful leadership for women? So, how would you approach this?
Well, I never wanted to be likable in the first place. So, therefore, I didn't bother too much about that personally. But it is a genuine challenge for women because most women believe in a more collaborative format of leadership. And likability is a big part of what they want to be. So, therefore, it gets difficult for them. They're often perceived as soft and not effective enough, and not strong enough to be leaders, because these are all metrics that have been created by a very, very patriarchal societal format. And therefore, all of us know that the models of leadership, the models of feminine and masculine leadership, are seen to be slightly different. But it's difficult for a woman often to navigate that uh, while still remaining likable. So my simple model in life is that if you're out to change the world, then likability should be thrown into the waste bin.
It's a lovely advice. And you have empaneled more than 200 members on Aspire for Her. But did Madhura have a mentor when she started with Aspire for Her?
Yes, I have had actually three advisors who have been extremely kind and generous with their time, and they have always helped me along. I think the first person is Purnima Shenoy. Purnima is my friend from my British Chevening Scholarship days. So we go back 20 years. And when I started the organization, entrepreneurship itself was a very new idea for me. And Purnima has been a serial entrepreneur, and she is a very, very successful professional, and she actually constantly encouraged me, motivated me, and showed me the way as Aspire for Her was getting born. I also met a very interesting person called Jaya Janardhanan. She was the chief operating officer of a bank at that point in time. And she saw us on LinkedIn and she said, "Hey, I want to be part of this." And Jaya has been an amazing source of support, setting up our operations, our technology, and also supporting us with many, many critical, crucial projects, opening doors for us. And again, Purnima was a really old friend, and Jaya was a very new friend, but both of them have been very integral parts of Aspire for Her's journey. The third person that I will talk about is Divya Sampath. Divya was actually my senior in XLRI. So her relationship with me predates even Purnima's. I know her for the last 30 odd years. And Divya actually was finishing one chapter of her career as a very successful technology professional, and she wanted to do something more meaningful in life, and that's when Aspire for Her happened, and she jumped in. And today, again, we are together working on many very meaningful projects, which are going to be transformative, just not in the projects itself, but also for society in general. So all three of them have been my advisors, have been my friend, philosophers, and guide. And I also had a very interesting person who actually joined us very early on. Her name is Ruchita Tandon. Ruchita actually came in after 22 years of gap. And she said, "Can I volunteer?" And I said, "Of course you can." And that's how her journey started. But she is one of the most fantastic professionals that I have ever met in my career. And I soon told her that you have to do more. And today she is a chief growth officer. And we don't care about the fact that she has a 22-year career gap. We're incredibly proud of the fact of the life that she has made for herself and the kind of impact she has on our community every day.
Brilliant. What do you think is the most important role of a mentor?
I think a mentor should open up doors and windows of one's mind and should also show the potential of a person so that they can actually realize their full potential.
Now I come to the very important or question that often gets asked by many women to a woman leader. How do you manage your work-life balance? Is it easy, or does something like that even exist at all? Can you find balance between your work and life?
Uh, I actually don't believe that this concept of work-life balance is real at all. Um, for me, it's always been about work and life happening together. But I think I'll use two words. One is ruthless, and the other is shameless. And that's how I manage my balance. Um, so I'm absolutely ruthless, in terms of my time prioritization. For example, when my daughter was growing up, I ensured that I spent as much time as I could with her in meaningful pursuits and in hours that actually help much more engagement and much more conversations than just sort of making her favorite food or doing something which I didn't really feel that would add much to her intellectual journey or to her emotional journey. So I would take herself out of her physical journey, and I would ensure that I was a bigger part of her intellectual and her emotional journey. And that's how I was ruthless. So I would actually cut out many of the things that I would have otherwise liked to do, but be ruthless with my time and prioritization. And I would be shameless about asking for help. So I would ask for help from anybody. I was extremely happy that my in-laws actually decided to stay back with us in Mumbai, where my daughter was growing up, and it was one of the biggest blessings that we all had. And she grew up uh, extremely protected as well as extremely loved by all the people around her, with a very very loving family around her, not just my husband and I. So I think that really changed her mindset as well, and it also opened up her mind to doing something more for the community and always giving back. They've done a far better job than what I ever could have done in terms of giving her some of the values, instilling some of the fantastic things that today she believes very, very strongly in. So I think these two words, shameless and ruthless, are my two cornerstones for ensuring that there is balance in life, and I should also be happy at the end of it. I feel that's very, very important. A happy mother and a fulfilled mother is far more important than ensuring that the perfect roti is being made every time.
Lovely. So, can I ask you, what does this spending time intellectually or emotionally with your daughter mean to you? Can you give some examples?
Well, right now she's far away, so all that we do is do it over video calls, But see what it meant in the early years was ensuring that I was part of the thoughts that she had, and we actually always had an open conversation. I opened up the world of books to her by reading to her a lot very early, and I used to spend a lot of time doing that. She was into sports, and the first time that she went and went swam at a competition. She was in swimming, so she turned out to be a national level swimmer eventually, and she won 27 national medals. Yeah, the first race that she swam, she came last, and she after finishing the swim, she got up and she asked me, did I come last? And I said, yes, but you swam so well, so I'm going to give you an award. And that's how it would start. That life is not just about winning. Life is not just about medals, but there is much more to life. And I think taking losses with equanimity, building that resilience, and building that emotional connect is important. And that's what I felt that perhaps we had been able to imbibe a little bit of that value in her.
I'm sure the award that you gave her would be the most valuable to her, even though she has won almost 27 awards or what you mentioned. So that's one great mom there. I mean, we have to wrap this up, and I would like to do that with a rapid fire round. Are you ready?
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Okay.
Now you're scaring me.
No, it's the fun part, right? So, how do you define success?
One word?
Could be one sentence too.
Okay. I think being part of something bigger than oneself.
How do you unwind after a long day at work?
Netflix.
Okay. What are the qualities required to become an entrepreneur?
I think resilience is quality that I would rate the top of. You should not let roadblocks and challenges get to you. So I think that's the topmost quality that I would look for. Bouncing back after a defeat.
What are the three things that worries you about leadership today?
Let me just give you three sentences or three words.
Yeah.
One sentence with three words, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Too many men.
Okay. Is that all?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What are the three things that you're grateful for in your life?
I think there's just been one thing that has really helped me. And everything else actually comes from there, which is having a great family, a great supportive family. So whether it's my education, whether it's my friends, whether it's my community, whether it's my ability to do other things, I think all of that has happened because of their support in various different ways at different points in my career and my existence. But I think it's just been that. Just
Yeah. Thank you so much, Madhura, for being here, taking this time out, and sharing such enjoyable and inspirational moments with us. Thank you so much.
thank you so much, Malti. Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay.
See you.
And that concludes this episode of the Impressive Empress podcast. We hope you found this conversation with Madhura DasGupta Sinha as inspiring and insightful as we did. Madhura's personal journey from a successful corporate career to becoming an entrepreneur with Aspire for Her is a testament to the incredible impact that a dedicated and visionary leadership can have on the society. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the Impressive Empress podcast on your favorite podcast platform such as iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or Amazon Music, and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us bringing more such inspiring stories to you. Got a question that you want me to ask our next guest? Please do write to me at empress@bhogya.online. That's empress@bhogya.online. Until the next time, I'm Malati, and this is the Impressive Empress podcast.